class. So today I wanted to introduce you to conjugating Spanish verbs. So what does conjugation mean? It's a term that we use a lot when we're learning the Spanish language, and basically conjugating a verb is making a verb agree with its subject. So we've already learned our subject pronouns in Spanish, which are yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, and ustedes. The letters are kind of small here, so that's why I'm kind of pointing out if you want to take some notes. That's what that first little square is. It's just our subject pronouns. So yo means I, tú means you, informal, él means he, ella means she, usted is you, formal, nosotros is we, vosotros is that southern y'all. Then we have ellos, which is they, masculine. We have ellas, which is they, feminine. And ustedes, which is you, plural. So basically what we're doing is that when we have a verb in Spanish, and a verb, in case you've forgotten your English grammar, a verb is an action word. So any time we use an action word or a verb, we need to make that verb agree with the subject in the sentence. So who are we talking about in the sentence? He runs to the store, right? So this is how we are going to make this agree, is using our conjugated verb endings. So again, there's three kinds of verbs in Spanish, or three endings. All verbs in Spanish, for the most part, end in AR, ER, and IR. Okay, so we have those three. That's how you know that you're dealing with an infinitive verb. An infinitive means basically the word has not been conjugated. So if a verb has not been conjugated, it's said to be in its infinitive form. So again, the three kinds of verbs we have are AR, ER, and IR. So in order to conjugate, we're going to start with the infinitive, right? We're starting with that base word that has not been conjugated, it's not been modified or changed to agree with the subject. So here we have three examples. Hablar, which means to speak. So hablar is to speak. Comer, which means to eat. And vivir means to live. So we have those three. AR, hablar ends in AR. Comer ends in ER, and vivir ends in IR. So the first thing we're going to do to conjugate a Spanish verb is we're going to remove that ending, either the AR, the ER, or the IR. So I'm going to go ahead and take my marker here and show you guys. We're going to remove the AR from hablar, the ER from comer, and the IR from vivir, okay? And what we're left with is what's called the stem of the verb. So for hablar, we're left with the HABL. For comer, we're left with the COM. And for vivir, we're left with the VIV. So again, we drop that ending, and we're left with what's called the stem of the verb. Now, depending on which verb you're dealing with, AR, ER, IR, we have different endings based on the subject. So, for AR, and I'll write this down a little bit bigger so that you guys can see. For AR, what I'm going to do, just to make this a little easier, we're going to go ahead and draw our diagram. Okay, because again, these have to agree with the subject pronoun. So for yo, the ending for AR, let me make this clear here. We're dealing with AR verb endings. Okay. For yo, we have o. For do, we have as. AS. For él, ella, usted, we have a. Okay. For nosotros, which is we have amos. For vosotros, we have ais. And one thing you're going to want to note with ais is that it has an acento. It has an accent mark over the A. Okay, so make sure that that's on there, otherwise it's not correct. And then for el, ellos, ellas, ustedes, we have an. Okay, so those are the verb endings for AR. So, o, as, a, amos, ais, an. So depending on which subject pronoun you're using for AR, you're going to select that verb ending. So let's say, for example, we'll go back to our verb hablar, which is to speak, okay? And we want to say, I speak in Spanish, okay? So I speak in Spanish. I is yo, right? So we're going to use the O form. Okay, so this is yo. So this is what we're going to want to use for I speak. So the way that you would conjugate it is you would say, here's the stem of the word, right? And then you would add the O for yo hablo. Yo hablo means I speak. Now, let's say I want to say you speak and you're my friend, right? So it's informal. Then I would go to the tú ending, and it's AS. So tú hablas. So tú hablas means you speak. If I want to change that to he, she, or you formal, which means it's someone of respect or someone that's older, then we would use the ending a. Okay, so he speaks would be él habla, she speaks would be ella habla, you speak formal if you're talking to me as your teacher would be usted habla, which means he, she, you formal speaks. If you want to say we speak, would be nosotros. So this would be hablamos. Nosotros hablamos is we speak. Vosotros, y'all speak. That would be habláis. Habláis. So vosotros habláis, you all speak. And then we have they speak, which is ellos, ellas, ustedes hablan. Okay? So again, the only thing that we did to change, depending on who we're talking about, is changing that ending. Okay? So now, the next one we have is our ER, because those are different endings. So I'm erasing here my little whiteboard so I can show you guys what these endings you're going to use on ER verbs are. So, again, we start with our infinitive form, which is comer, which means to eat. We are going to drop the ER, and then you're left with the stem, which is COM. Okay, now we've got to decide what ending are we going to use based on the subject pronoun. So, again, they're slightly different endings than the AR, okay? So, for yo, you're going to use O, so that's the same as our AR. Then for tú, you're going to use S. So, E, oh, give me 1 second. I'm writing backwards here, so it's a little difficult. So, ES, okay? So, tú es, then you have él, ella, usted would be E, okay? Then we have nosotros, hemos. Then we have vosotros, es, E-I-S. And just like with the AR, there's an accent mark, except this time it's above the E. And then you have ellos, ellas, ustedes, en, en. Okay? So we have o, es, e, hemos, es, en. Okay. So for these endings, they're only going to be used with the ER. So make that very big appear in your notes. These are your ER endings. Okay. So let's use this comer example. Okay. So if I want to say I eat, I'm going to look on my little chart, see yo ends in O, right? So we stay with that stem, C-O-M, and then I'm going to add the O for yo como, which means I eat. If I want to say you eat, again, this is informal do, right? I'm going to go ahead and look on my chart. I'm going to add an ES at the end. Do comes. If I want to say he, she, you formal, okay, so again, adult or someone that you owe respect to, come, él, ella, usted come. Then we have nosotros comemos. So we add the hemos for the nosotros form. Then we have es. So that's for our subject pronoun of vosotros. So coméis, vosotros coméis. And again, there's that little accent mark that you're going to want to include. And then last one would be they. So ellos, ellas, ustedes comen. E-N. Comen. Okay. So that would be for all ER. Again, that's O, es, e, hemos, es, en. Okay. So the next category that we have up here is our IR verbs. So I'm going to go ahead and erase my diagram so that I can show you here how it works for the IR. And you're going to be pleasantly surprised to know that there's not a whole lot of memorization when it comes between the ER and the IR because there's only slight variations. So some of these endings are going to look similar or the same. Okay, so we'll go back up here to our chart where we have the IR is the infinitive. Again, it's not been modified. Our infinitive verb for the IR we are using is vivir, which means to live. So we're going to drop the IR ending, and we're left with our stem of VIV. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that right here. Now, the endings for the IR, I'm writing IR at the top of my chart here, so you're able to see it. For the yo form, it's O. So again, that does not change from AR, ER. So for the I form, it's always consistent. It ends in O. For the do is S. E-S. So again, that's the same as the ER. Okay? Same as the ER is the next one, which is E for he, she, you formal. Then we have, here's where it starts to become a little different. Imos. I am, oops, let's erase that. I-M-O-S. Imos is for nosotros, which is the we. Okay? Then we have is, is, for our vosotros form. Okay? That has an accent. And then you've got the N. E-N. So that doesn't change from ER. So really the only two different letters, the only two different forms, for the IR endings would be in the nosotros and the vosotros form. Everything else remains the same from the ER conjugation. Okay? So I wanted to just list them out separately, just in case if you want to keep those separate. you can study them that way, whatever's easier for you. So let's go back here to our example of vivir, which is to live. If I want to say I live, yo vivo, I live. Then you have tú vives, which is you live. Then we have he, she, you, formal, vive, okay, vive, right, because we're coming here down to the he, she, okay. Then we live, vivimos, okay. Next one is vosotros, so y'all live, vosotros viváis, okay. And then the last one, the last one is they. They is en, so it would be viven, okay. So they live is viven, okay. So now that you have those endings written down, let's go through a couple more examples just to make sure that I can demonstrate how you would form that conjugation based on the word, okay? So another Spanish word in the infinitive form would be cantar, C-A-N-T-A-R, cantar, which means to sing, okay? So this means to sing. Okay, so if I want to say, I sing, okay, what I'm going to do is I am going to first drop this AR, okay? So I'm left with can't, okay? Now, based on our chart here with the AR, if I want to say I sing, the ending is O. So this would be yo canto, okay? Yo canto means I sing. Now, if I wipe away that yo and I just leave canto, that's okay. The cool thing about conjugating verbs in Spanish is that they tell us who we're talking about in the sentence. So we don't have to say, I sing, word for word in Spanish. This ending is telling the person who's receiving the information, whether written, whether verbal, that I mean that I sing, which is pretty cool. So don't worry if you didn't understand that step. We can discuss that in class. But just know it's not wrong if you omit the subject pronoun when using the conjugated verb form, okay? So yo canto or canto both mean I sing, okay? Now let's say I want to say you sing. Then it would be tú cantas. So you sing, okay? Let's switch this up a little bit. If I want to say we sing, it would be nosotros cantamos. Okay? So, let's change up the verb again. I'll give you a new word to work with, and actually, we'll practice one of the ER verbs this time. So, another verb in Spanish is beber. Beber means to drink, okay? So that means to it's kind of hard writing upside down, but beber means to drink, okay? So again, the first thing we're going to do is drop our infinitive ending, which is ER. So just you can cross that out. and then you're left with the stem, which is B, E, B. Okay? If I want to say he or she drinks, you're going to go to your chart and you're going to look at, here you have I, you, he, she, formal you. So the ending is an E. So, bebe. Okay? This is where that rule of omitting the subject pronoun kind of gets a little gray, right? Because in this case, it could be one of three people. It could be he, it could be she, and it could be you, formal. So here, you might want to go ahead and clarify who you're talking about in the sentence. So you would put él bebe, he drinks, or ella bebe, she drinks, or usted, remember our abbreviation for usted, UD, usted bebe, okay? So for the last two, where it could be several, you might want to clarify with the subject pronoun, okay? So let's go back to bebe. We have our stem. If I want to say y'all drink, vosotros bebéis, and go ahead and put that accent mark. Okay, make sure that you include that over the E because otherwise it's technically not correct. Okay. All right, so let's try another verb to conjugate. And you guessed it, we're going to practice the IR. So we have the Spanish verb salir. S-A-L-I-R. Salir means to go out. Okay? So this is to go out. Okay, to go out. So I'll give you a second, and I want to see if you can do this one on your own. So let's say that I want to say, I go out. That's the sentence we're going to try to create now. I go out. Okay, and I'll give you just a second to figure that out. Remember, take a look at what you need to get rid of in the word. Then look at your chart for IR and what you might need to add to the word to make the phrase, I go out. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get rid of our IR, again, that ending. We're going to look at the yo form. It ends in O. So here's our stem, S-A-L. See what happened there? We actually formed a trick question. So this is actually an irregular verb form. Okay, don't get confused, don't get upset. This is actually what we're going to jump into in our next lesson. So again, remember in Spanish, there's the 95 to 5% rule. 95% of the time, these endings are going to apply. But there are going to be times where we're going to have to change the stem of the verb to formulate our conjugated verbs. Okay, so don't get confused if while you're working through some of our activities during class, you come across some verbs that you think might be conjugated, but you're not sure because they throw in a couple extra letters. We're going to discuss that. So, but in the meantime, again, just want to let you know that this, if you put the S-A-L-O, that's not correct, but it's not your fault. We'll get there. So again, if you have any questions, go ahead and look on the website. I will have links on additional videos that you can watch. If not, come prepared with your questions and we'll discuss them tomorrow in class, and we'll go ahead and have plenty of practice time. But in the meantime, go ahead and begin reviewing your verb endings. Make sure that you understand that there's 3 categories. You have AR, ER, IR. Each one of them has a different ending depending on the subject pronoun. And the whole purpose in conjugating verbs in Spanish is to tell the person or the reader that you're speaking to who is doing the action. Okay, so we're making our verb agree with our subject. All right, and have a good evening or good night, and I'll see you in class. Adios.